Good morning, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar, Messy Product Data is Costing You Sales, How to Clean and Maintain Your Product Catalogue. This is the next of the webinars that we're putting on, showing you how to get more out of StoreFeeder, showcase some of StoreFeeder's features, and hopefully give you a better understanding of how to use them. I'm Jack. Some of you may already know me. I'm a StoreFeeder product knowledge expert. I've been at StoreFeeder for 13 years now. I started off working in support, became the onboarding manager, and now I've moved more into the marketing side of the business. So this is the agenda for today's webinar. We'll have a little introduction, then we'll go through what makes a good SKU, archiving and discontinuing products, keeping product data consistent, how to update your product data, different ways to do that, exporting and analyzing product data, look at the key takeaways, and then at the end we've got time for some questions. So if you've got some or you think of any during the webinar, throw them into the chat and I can have a look at those at the end. So welcome to today's session. Most businesses don't realize this, but messy product data could be costing themselves every day. It's not because the products are bad, but maybe because the customers can't find them or they're not quite labeled right on channel. And it also can make it harder to manage them in your warehouse as well, if everything's not clear to everyone that works there. So today we're going to have a look at exactly how that happens and then how we can fix it using StoreFeeder. So we'll look at best practices as well. So product data, how it doesn't just support your operation, it directly impacts your ability to sell, or if your data isn't consistent. It could be things like small inconsistencies like unclear titles, missing attributes, or mismatched information. And on the operational side, things like inaccurate stock data leading to overselling or perhaps missed opportunities. So we'll have common challenges as well. So most of the time, messy product data isn't caused by one big issue. It sort of builds up over time, especially if you've got a larger catalogue and it's you've had more products added as your business has grown. Different people can input different data in different ways. You could have had products created from different channels or brought in from different places. So you end up with a mismatch of data and perhaps data that isn't as consistent as it perhaps needs to be. We see things like inconsistent SKU structures, duplicate products, outdated products with missing attributes, and some data that doesn't quite work across everywhere. Because I'll touch on this like later on in the webinar as well, but eBay and Amazon, for example, can have quite different data requirements. So you want to make sure that your products are able to be used everywhere you're selling. But the good news is that they are pretty common problems and they're all fixable with the right structure and approach. So why bad product data can cost sales? It's not like I sort of said earlier, it's not necessarily a product problem, it's a data problem. So if your product data is incomplete or inconsistent, marketplaces and websites can struggle to understand what you're selling, which means the products won't appear in relevant search and filters. For example, Amazon with its product attributes, you need to have that information in there. Otherwise, it's not going to show up when people are searching for particular information, such as size, brand, or the category you're in. Inconsistent naming sometimes as well. So you may be using abbreviations for some products, but then full names for the colors as an example on others. Maybe poor titles, and that's because you've just taken that information from one channel, it's sat on the product in StoreFeeder, and then that's been pushed out to another. Perhaps it's not as good for that channel as perhaps it could be. So maybe if your product's not appearing in the search, it doesn't exist to the customer, and you could argue it's a lost sale before you've even had the chance to for them to see it. Low click-through on bad product title descriptions and images. So if you've got the wrong information against it, so even if your product does appear, then the listing's bare or it's got just bad data against it. There was convincing people to buy the product. So if the data's messy, it might be unclear and not relevant to the customer, or they not think it's relevant, giving you lower click-through rates and perhaps less traffic to the listings. low conversion due to confusing or inconsistent data. So they might have clicked on the listing, looking at the product, and they'll need the confidence to buy it. Poor data creates that doubt. I've seen it before on eBay where I found what I'm looking for, and I'm looking at the listing itself, and there's maybe a lack of a description, or the images aren't great, or the title's not great, and I'm thinking, well, is this actually what I want to buy? Like an example might be that the sizing info doesn't match the title. The product data could have been taken from a parent, like a variation product, and copied onto all of the children. It's the child that's then listed, and it doesn't match what it's saying. Perhaps it's contradicting itself. Variants are unclear or badly labeled, so you might have the wrong variation attributes against them. They could even, some of them may even have missing attributes in themselves on the listing, so it can create a bit of hesitation when people are looking to buy. Overselling or underselling due to stock issues. This is the bad data inside the warehouse. It's not necessarily the product data itself, but perhaps it's the way you've got SKUs set up. So we'll touch on SKUs in the next section. But if you've got a product, you want to have one example of that SKU in StoreFeeder, even if you've ended up creating another product that's the same product but it's got a different SKU. You don't want to be doing that. You want to keep it all in one place so that the people in the warehouse are aware of what they've got, or even the people dealing with returns and exchanges. They'll want to be able to look at what the product is and usually know what it is in order to process the return. So what makes a good SKU? The SKU's the sort of the core of your catalog, really. If it's messy, it's a lot harder to understand what you've got and what is where. So the first one, it has to be unique. StoreFeeder won't allow you to create a duplicate SKU anyway, but you want to make sure, like I said a moment ago, that you've got every individual product is an individual SKU. You don't have individual, one product and then multiple SKUs, so you're seeing it in two places. You don't want to do that. It wants to be consistent and structured. So short enough that it's easily readable, but also containing enough meaningful information so it can be easily interpreted. It might be that people who aren't as familiar with your business join, and you don't want them to be asking you, well, what does this SKU mean? When it's, if it's just a collection of seemingly random letters or numbers, you want them to be able to look at it, interpret it, and know roughly what it is, or at least have an idea just from the SKU before having to look at any more information in the product. Maybe avoid random or supplier-only SKUs. So I've seen a lot of the time during onboarding, if you create a product from a listing, and you've not got SKUs on that channel. I know eBay is quite a good example of this. It will just use the channel identifier as the SKU, and that is like an 11-digit number, which essentially means nothing to anybody. So you want to make sure that you're not using those, because they don't help. I've seen a lot of it on parent SKUs as well. This is one that some people forget. They'll just have like the channel ID is the parent SKU and not change that. So it's good practice to make sure that everything is using something that's relevant and readable. And you don't want to tie your SKUs to supplier only SKUs more often than not. There may be an argument for it, but I would say steer clear of that and have your supplier SKUs against the product to supplier SKUs, and not your SKU. Your SKU needs to be relevant to you, really. Reflect product attributes easily. Very important for variation SKUs, because like the example we'll look at in a moment, they're essentially the same product. They might be a different size or a different color. So you want to show that it's that product, but you also want to give it its own distinguishing feature within the SKU, so you know what it is. Scalable SKUs. So meaning, as your product catalog grows, your SKUs want to keep their meaning as you add new products. So you've got a format that you can easily use for other items, and as they're added, you're able to add new products that keep into the same format and keep their meaning as you go. So let's look at an example. We've got an example here of a variation of a pair of shoes. So from this SKU, we can basically see what the item is without having to look at any other information relating to the product. We've got Nike as the brand, Air Max 90 as the name or the style of the shoe, black for color, and then size at the end as a 9. So that SKU will tell you everything from it that you need to see without having to check any more information on the product. Now, 90% of the time, you will have the extra information available to you. You may have an image, especially if you're picking using the app, for example, you'll have an image and extra product information. But there are instances where you may just have a list of SKUs and you just want to go through, look at what the SKUs are and be able to tell what the product is straight away from that. So moving on to discontinued products and archiving products. So this is a way of sort of making sure that the products you see in StoreFeeder are the ones that are relevant to you. You don't want to have, especially if you've been trading for a long time, loads and loads and loads of products that maybe you were using at one point and they've not been available from the supplier for years, but they're still in the system. You want a way to hide them, tidy it up without necessarily having to delete the data, because if you delete the data, you could delete sales history or information that you actually require. So what does discontinuing a product do? It allows you to still sell a product, but doesn't allow it to be ordered from a supplier. So yeah, it's for use when you want to run down stock, but not order anymore. It's, for example, always Christmas trees example. You're perhaps not going to want to be selling any in July, but you may have some in stock. We don't be wanting to order any, in July, but you're going to have some in stock that you might want to sell. Someone might be buying it, so you can have it available, but just not something that's going to show up on a requisition or a purchase order. So the products will still appear in stock. They won't appear, so the listing will be active. Products won't appear on the requisition page or purchase order page, so you can't create a purchase order for them to bring more in. They will show on the app, so they can be picked and processed, and they can be added to motor orders, for example, if they come in, or if you do want to create a new listing with the discontinued products, you can. So how to discontinue multiple products? You can't discontinue individual ones. You do it in bulk, but you can just check one and discontinue one if you want to. So the way you do it is you set your filters on the product page, find what you want. Maybe it's if you're using SKUs, you might have a SKU prefix that you want to discontinue all these products, and then you'd select them and then just select discontinue from the drop down, hit confirm, and that will then move those products to be discontinued. Next, we've got archive products, which is sort of the sister function to it. So when archiving products, they are when you're wanting to not keep stock of a product, but not fully delete it. So it means you can kind of just archive the product away, hide it away, basically. It is worth saying the product's got to be out of stock for you to archive it, because when you archive it, you're essentially saying, I don't want any information from this to be visible for active listings. I don't want anyone to be able to order it. I don't want anyone to be able to pick it. So you do want to have, you can only archive products that are out of stock. So yeah, they won't appear as in stock. They won't appear on the requisitions or purchase orders. They won't appear on the app, and they can't be added to orders or listings. So it's one step away from deleting the product, but you've still got the option to bring it back if you need to, and you've got any data that relates to it still in the system. To archive a product, you can do it in two ways. You can archive individual ones by hovering over the SKU on the manage products page and clicking archive, or in the exact same way as you would discontinue products in bulk or multiple ones. You just select them, but this time select archive from the list, and that will move them to the archive section. It is possible to unarchive products or reintroduce discontinued ones if you want to. They aren't visible on the manage products page by default. You need to go and select them from the column list and add them, but they're just at the bottom there. And once you do that, they'll then appear on the grid to filter by. So you can filter by yes, no, or both, essentially. So to unarchive a product, you'd find the product that's archived and click unarchive, and that will move it back. So that will mean that then you can put stock onto it, you can purchase it again from your supplier, you can create listings, and you can pack it from the warehouse. It works in bulk as well. So reintroducing a product works in the same way. You have to do it in bulk for reintroducing it, but once you do that, it's back into the catalog and you can start selling it again. So keeping product data consistent. You want to make sure this little section is about making sure that your product data follows the same structure every time. For example, product titles might be brand, product, key attributes, that your colors are always written in the same way, sizes follow a consistent pattern. If you're not doing this, your catalog can become very inconsistent very quickly and look this sort of, like all completely separate and almost random listings to customers. Also, search algorithms can rely on consistency. So if you've got nice looking, searchable, easy to find listings, they can do better. Plus, it's not, there might be other people selling these items as well. So you want to make sure that your listings are easily scannable and someone can quickly look at it, know exactly what it is, and know that they've found what they're looking for. So you want to use consistent formats across your products. This is how data is structured. So sizes, for example, you might be using UK size 9, or just 9, or just size 9, or black as the color, or different abbreviations with different capitalization. So you want to make sure that you're using the same ones on each one, so that one, customers know what it is, and then anyone working in the perhaps working in the warehouse, or anyone dealing with customer service is easily able to find the products and know what they are. These sort of smaller ones, these sort of issues can be fine at a smaller scale, but as you begin to scale, they have a greater impact. So ensuring that data is suitable for all your sales channels. Briefly mentioned at the start, but different sales channels have different requirements. So Amazon, eBay, your website, you'll have a lot more control of that. So you'll be able to say, well, this format's fine, I can use this. But Amazon and eBay as marketplaces, not so much. eBay requires certain sets of information that might not be relevant for Amazon, and Amazon require information that might be relevant for eBay. So what you want to make sure you've done is have information on your product in StoreFeeder that's generic enough that it can be transferred to these listings as you create them, and then you just add any other little specifics you need to as you create the listing. So most marketplaces will want brand, EAN, size, for example, or they may have titles that have a length or formatting rules, because when you go to create a listing in StoreFeeder from a product, it'll copy the title over from the product and put that into the listing. And then you've got a really long product listing and it goes to Amazon, but they've got like a character limit of, I don't actually think this is the character limit, but say it was 40, some of it could get cut off. And then you've got to spend time formatting the listings again, something that you'd already done when sorting out the products. So it would save you time in that way. May want to avoid any duplication. So obviously you can't have duplicate products in StoreFeeder. And again, it's just stressing the point that you want to have, you don't want to have products in multiple places with different names and different SKUs. You want one product to be one SKU with one good naming convention that everyone knows where it is or what it is, and you can find it easily. Same with variants. You don't want to duplicate any variants or variation attributes. I've seen examples where people have had variation attribute sets where it's basically, say it was a t-shirt with color, size, but then have like a third attribute which is the same for everything, and you don't need that. You can save having that on the product, and it just means it's a little easier to manage everything, and you'll perhaps have easier time reporting on what products you've got. Avoid conflicting information. So you don't want parts of the listing, it's pretty obvious really, but you don't want like the variation attributes to not match the description, or the description to be inconsistent versus other attributes or bullet points later on in the listing. It's just making sure that everything is tidy, understandable, and easily managed and reported upon as you make sales. So how to update product data. There's a few different ways to correct any sort of issues you've got with products that already exist in StoreFeeder. We're assuming that you've created everything at this point. Perhaps you're in onboarding and you've created them from one source, but it's not quite good enough and you need to update it to bring it all in line. Or perhaps you've been using StoreFeeder for a long time and you've got hundreds of thousands of products that all need to perhaps got a bit out of step, and you want to bring them all into the same sort of naming conventions that we've talked about. So you can update one product at a time. If you want to, you can. You just find the SKU. We don't look at it on this really, but you just find the SKU and update it as quick, easy way if you do need to do just one. We can use the product import export. So that's just pulling the spreadsheet out of the system, making the changes, and then putting it back in to do it all in bulk. Via the API, which isn't something that I've touched on in the webinars before, but if you've got access to the API and access to someone who's able to work with it, you can do updates through that now from different data sets where you've got it. So product import via spreadsheet. There's just one that I'm sure a lot of you would have seen this before. But yeah, you just export the file from StoreFeeder, make changes. You can then put it back into the system straight away. So match on key fields is ID. So the ID is unique to the product and can't be edited. So it's different to your SKU. So if you're updating your SKUs, you can do that against ID, and StoreFeeder will know that everything's being updated. Again, add your product changes to your names, changes to descriptions, any images that you need to add, you can do it all through that. Doing it through the API. So we've got a StoreFeeder REST API. It allows you to take data from other sources easily and add that information to your products. That's the URL if anyone wants to go and have a look. It's available to, it's useful for anyone using StoreFeeder. There may be an additional fee for it. I think we support unsupported and supported versions of using the API. But it is available for you to look at without having to, have added it to your subscription first. You can update a single product through it or multiple products. It's using the patch call, if anyone is technical enough to know what I'm talking about here. So it's you're updating stuff that already exists. And you can update SKU, pricing information like price, RRP, weight, warehouse information like weight, dimensions, packaging size, quantity, product special attributes, so that's product harmonized code, quantity of manufacture, and then the product special attributes themselves. This is I've seen people using this in the past if they've got access to maybe a supplier's database and they can just pull that information straight out of that, populate the products with that information in StoreFeeder automatically as they're changed or as you need to pull it all in and do it in one go. I've also seen people do a lot of stuff with the product harmonized codes. So when that was all introduced, people have used the API to update those products as those harmonized codes have changed or new ones have been created. And it's just an easier way of having to get, one spreadsheet, another spreadsheet, do a VLOOKUP or whatever, put the two together and then put it into StoreFeeder. You can perhaps automate it a bit using the API. Just have a quick look at it. So you can see this is just the part of the API that it is. So if any developers who are watching this will understand what this is, and you can go and look at this for yourself on the URL rest.storefeeder.com. If you do want access to this, if you speak to support, they'll be able to talk to you about it and look at how we get it added to your account. And the next section, reviewing and exporting products. So if you want to just manage your data, see what's get an overview of what you've got, you can obviously export using the product import export, but we do have the insights reporting engine. I've spoken about this in other webinars, and this is another report that you can find in there and use for it. So we've got this slow moving and dead stock reports. This will show you, basically, you can filter by, allows you to see what's not selling or is selling, and you can filter by maybe enough criteria where you can sort of narrow down whether it's supplier, date and time, what items are where, and then that'll show you when it was last sold, how many of them were last sold, give you sort of information on what products are in the catalogue that perhaps do need to look at being archived or discontinued after looking at the last sale dates. This can then be exported as a file for you to manipulate in other programs if you need to, or you can also visualize it and see it as a graph and give you a better sort of overview of what your products do. We're also working on an age stock report. So that's showing older stock, perhaps useful if you're using FIFO and that sort of thing. But we are able to add new reports to insights quite easily. So if there's a particular reporting information you can't see in there, or information you want to know about your product that's in StoreFeeder but not visible in a way that you need it at the minute, we can look at adding custom ones for you as well. So key takeaways: readable and consistent SKUs. Arguably the most important part, because this will affect everything. But if you have SKUs that are easily understandable and easily processed, that's great. Regularly archive or discontinue products that you no longer need. Just so your product catalog is as tidy as possible. Keep your product data up to date and usable on your sales channels. So that would be, I would say, making sure that everything is relevant, everything's up to date, and you can just create a listing for this product and get it live. And export product data for regular review using insights. So taking that data out, seeing what you're selling, seeing what you've got, seeing what products are working, and then perhaps reviewing those products and updating the data to reflect that. And then finally, product information in bulk using the product import or REST API, so you can fix that data that you've seen an issue with through the reporting. Okay, Q&A. Time for questions, if there are any. Yes. So is the reporting on the beta site? Yeah, Insights is part of V3. It is available for everyone, but I would suggest having a look at it. It is really good. We are constantly adding new reports to it, so it's something that would be worthwhile looking at and seeing how it's able to help you. Is it possible to auto archive products after a certain number of months in stock? Not that I'm aware of. I don't think that's possible. I mean, quite like the idea though. I'll speak with support and see if that's something that's been brought up before, and if it's something that has been mentioned or it's something we're looking at, it would be certainly see if it can be added. Discontinue items via spreadsheet import. Great question. I'm actually just going to check this because I think there might be. I know it's in the spreadsheet as a field, but whether when you import it actually actions that, it might be. I think it is just in the spreadsheet as a is this archived or is this discontinued? Maybe try it. It might work. This would be great for my data team. Is it possible to access recording of this session? Yeah, this will be on YouTube probably next week or the week after. I just need to edit it down and upload it, but I'll make sure that you'll see it'll probably post on LinkedIn that it's gone out, and we'll have I'll make support aware of it as well, so that they'll be able to pass it on if anyone needs it or asks for it. what's the easiest way to navigate to the V3 site from the orders page? Cool. Yeah, no problem. Yeah. You just click on the you would just click on the little CV3 thing. It will take you to it. Maybe familiar with product in bulk. Is there a way to push all new info to listings in bulk? When you upload a spreadsheet with price changes to a into StoreFeeder on the listings, it should trigger everything for an automatic update to check. So it'll see what's changed, and then if a value's changed, so if you've changed the price from 5 to 10, for example, it'll flag that listing as one that it needs to be updated and push that information to the channel. So it will do it automatically as you reprice it. There is the repricer as well, which runs in the background and does that sort of process automatically. I think I did a webinar on that, so there is one somewhere where we've talked about that, so that might be useful. Maybe okay. Luke, if you just get in touch with support, they'll be able to get it added for you if you're not seeing it already. It should be on the okay, yeah, you should have access to that. So if you get in touch with support, they can have a look and see why it's not appearing for you. It might just be a permissions issue. No problem. Cool. Any other questions? Maybe. Great. Cool. So StoreFeeder sessions 2026, a little plug for that. Sorry, just getting one more question. If it could be great if you could discontinue processing bulk through the import, which sometimes, yeah, I reckon it must be in the import export. If it's not, because I'm not 100% sure, it's something that I'm sure we can look at adding, but it might just be, yeah, I would just give it a quick check, try and do it through the import export and see if it works. If not, it's something we can speak to the support team about. So sessions 2026. I'm pretty sure most of you on here will have seen this and probably got tickets to come and have a look already. It's shaping up to be quite a nice event, actually. So it's sponsored by eBay. They're the principal sponsors, and they're doing a talk on stage along with Timu and Rawmail. We've also got Brian and Ian will be there, and Sean, the product owner for StoreFeeder, talking about the platform's roadmap, product preview, so what's next, what's coming up, integrations and automation for StoreFeeder, so you can implement StoreFeeder into other processes in your business. There'll be talks on reporting, insights, how AI is being used to make better data decisions, and there will be a open discussion and Q&A with the team. And I believe support are doing one-to-one sessions as well. So if you haven't already booked your place, get in touch with us at hello@storefeeder.com, and they'll be able to get you sorted out. That's on Wednesday, the 20th of May, at the Trent Conference Centre in Nottingham. It's really easy to get to actually from the station. There's lots of parking there, so that's really good. Right. There's no plans for any London ones at the moment. This is the sort of main event that we do, and as we're Nottingham based, it is going to be Nottingham. Cool. So thank you all for your time. I hope you found the webinar useful. The next one will probably be in June because of sessions next month taking priority over it. So keep an eye out for that. If you've got any questions or want to go through anything that I've talked about in this with the support team, you can get in touch either via ticket, phone, or hello@storefeeder.com. Thank you for your time, guys. I hope you found it useful, and enjoy the rest of your day.